So when we were going in to see a new customer, so this is assuming you've already spoken with someone on the phone, they've expressed a level of interest in your product, you've qualified them to understand that they've got a budget, or you're really a fit for the kind of service that they're looking for. What we would do is we would walk into the office and we'd go right to business. We would ask the client, we'd extend a hand, say it's a pleasure to meet you, Mary or Steve or whoever it was. Wondering if you might be able to take us to the part of your office that has the most explicit issues. Typically when we're brought in, there's a part of your office that there's a problem. Chances are you might not even be talking to your current contractor. Would that be fair, Steve or Mary? And more often than not, we would get a chuckle. I think most janitorial companies that lose customers are often blindsided by the fact that the customer wasn't happy. So acknowledging that you understand that they're probably not communicating with their current vendor is probably a leg up for you in terms of initially showing that you understand the industry. That, when they bring you to the particular part of the office, we would start taking photographs. And we were using a free app for Apple called Skitch, Skitch. More on that in a moment. So what that allowed us to do was capture the issues that the customer was talking about in the most prolific area that was of concern to them. What we would do then is we'd pull our phone open, and this is where we would start to demonstrate very quickly for that customer how we were a little bit different and better positioned to support them. So we would say, okay, thank you for that. Do you mind if I just show you something? We'd open up our phone, browse to locations, and then go to the library. And from here, what we would do is we would say, Mary or Steve, listen, those issues are absolutely things we can deal with. I appreciate you sharing this with me. What I'd like you to do is just, identify, I want you to see what our cleaners get, because understanding what you've just told us, the issues that you see, we want to make sure that you feel comfortable that our cleaners are going to be able to action this every single time they walk through the door. Not just for the first 2 or 3 months, but every cleaner, every day is going to have the same level of instruction. So we'd put that phone in their hand and say, this is the manager version of things. But what I wanted to show you is if you could just click the instructions at the bottom, this is what our cleaners see. And it can go out to all of our cleaners in different languages. So what it does is it shows very clearly what it is that our cleaners are expected to do each and every time they show up at your location. And what Skitch does is allows you to do this little markup on the photographs that you take right away. So literally in the first 5 minutes of being in that customer's environment, I've gotten right to the brass tacks of the problem that they have. I've identified that they're currently not talking with their current contractor. I've demonstrated that my team is going to be significantly better equipped in terms of understanding what to do day after day, shift after shift, even if we have turnover in our staff. And I've demonstrated that the issues that are so important to them are not just documented in words or on a sheet of paper like most companies are going to do. This is now in image form, so our cleaners can clearly see what it's supposed to look like when they finish the shift. So this gives you an opportunity very quick to say, this is how we manage our team. And we would also pause and say, now that we've shown you a little bit about our service, what I want to speak to really quick is how we're different than our competitors. Clearly, we have a technology that allows us to communicate more effectively, but I don't want to tell you that we've got the best janitorial company in the city. Frankly, I know that that's pretty much what every janitorial company you're talking to is going to tell you. And frankly, if you look at any of your competitors' websites, you'll see that largely they say the same things. We focus on quality, we clean corners, we don't cut corners, we clean them, we have the best products, we have the best team, et cetera, et cetera. What we did was we would acknowledge that in our pitch and say, I'm not going to tell you how great we are. I'm not going to tell you we're the best janitorial company. What I'm going to show you is that by virtue of tools that we have here, we allow our cleaners to communicate more effectively with us, and we manage that team better than anyone else as a result. At the end of the day, we all cleaning companies hire from the same talent pool of cleaners. So it's very difficult to say that your team is better than anyone else's when you all hire from the same pool of cleaners. What the important metric to measure here, or at least pitch, is that you have tools and resources that allow you to manage your team significantly better than anyone else. So much so that, again, showing the customer, my cleaners are able to order supplies when they're on site. If there's a problem that comes up, my cleaners can show the message board and I can communicate in real time with them about what's taking place on site. Any issues that you have, Mrs. Customer, I can now disseminate them out to my cleaners in real time so that they can action those issues for you. And as you were telling me, Mrs. Customer, the cleaners weren't showing up or whatever it might be, I get notifications here that show me that my cleaners are late for shifts. I get issues notifying me that, things weren't completed. There were people signing in off-site. All these different things that I can see on my device that allow me to manage my team in ways that none of my competition can. Right? So this is the way that you're using the application very quickly to demonstrate you've got something different, speak to processes that make you unique and more effective, and to demonstrate them with the client very quickly. Now, the last piece that I just want to showcase for you, because there's more in the application you could get into depending on the level of interest that you get with the customer, the more that they dive into this, the better off you will be. The more that they see this as a differentiator and a value to how you position your service to them, again, do not stop showing them this if they express interest. Now, the piece that we would also run into is, of course, let's fast forward a couple of weeks when the customer had reviewed a couple of proposals or had simply said that they're ready to go. What we would often find is the customer would call us and say, Toby, we're really excited about what you guys showed us. The level of communication that you have amongst your team is exceptional. We're confident that, you're a little bit more expensive, but we're confident that you guys are going to be, a vendor we're going to stick with for quite a while. We would at that point challenge the client. And what I mean by that is we would say, Adele, listen, that's wonderful, Adele. I'm thrilled that you want to work with us. But, there's one thing that you mentioned when we met, Adele, that I really want to kind of highlight or just question on. You mentioned that when we spoke that you weren't even talking to your current contractor. That's a little bit of a concern for us. And can I share why? Because the reason you've selected us is because communication is so important. How we communicate with our team to affect quality for all of our customers is obviously, as you said, why you wanted to work with us. That's awesome. But the challenge I have is that we need you to communicate with us at that level as well, because you're the customer. You are the most important person in our quality program. If you're only critiquing us and pointing out things that we do wrong, we're never going to excel. And at some point, you're just going to stop communicating with us, and we're going to be no further ahead than the other guys. So what we want to offer to you is a free piece of technology that makes it very easy for you to communicate with us. So this is a tool that allows for the customer to download the app to their phone. If they choose not to, they can use SMS. So they can just do text messages, and all of that comes into you. So what it allows for is the customer to communicate issues just by pushing a button. And we would show this is one of our other clients. Or you could even go in and set that particular customer up in the software in advance of going to the demo and log in as them and show what that communication could look like and demonstrate to the customer that you do want to hear from the client, and not about big problems. You want to hear about the small problems so that you can helpfully guide your team to resolve them well before they become big problems for the client. So that's just a couple of snippets, a couple of tips on how to use the technology that Swept provides to win a new contract.